Hello, today I'm going to talk to you about summarizing. Summarizing is a comprehension strategy. Summarizing helps to enhance understanding, and it also helps to promote retention. I grabbed this quote from a website called readingrockets.org. It says, summarizing teaches students how to discern the most important ideas in a text, how to ignore irrelevant information, and how to integrate the central ideas in a meaningful way. All three of these skills are very important, not just in reading, but in life in general. These are all things that will help our students become successful citizens and will help them all throughout their careers. Additionally, teaching students to summarize improves their memory for what is read. If a student can summarize something that they've seen or something that they've read, then that helps them remember what it was that they saw or what they read. So who benefits from summarizing? I love this strategy because it is a strategy that fits everybody. Anybody from kindergarten to middle school to high school to grown adults. Everybody benefits from summarizing. It is such an important strategy, such an important skill for all students from pre-K to 12th grade, struggling readers to experienced readers. So if I'm going to teach my students how to summarize, what materials do I need? Well, you need a text, any text. It can be any subject, it can be any content, it can be any grade level. Literally any text. You can summarize anything. Doesn't even have to be a written text. It can be a visual text. Students can summarize an image, a video, a graph, a chart. Seriously, anything. You can summarize anything. Any materials, okay? You can even have your students summarize your lesson from the day. So, hey, students, you were here for 45 minutes. Summarize what you learned. And that's practice right there for summary. So here are some examples of things that can be summarized. So like I said, anything from The Cat in the Hat and Clifford the Big Red Dog. You can summarize comic books. I put up a Wonder Woman comic book. There's a political cartoon, Wuthering Heights, Iron Man, the movie, the Civil War. I pulled the Civil War from Ken Burns. So really anything. It could be any content, anything science, math, anything. So I pulled this quote from our textbook. On page 340, it says, because written summaries involve complex writing skills. So beyond the reading skills involved in summarizing, summarizing also requires some complex writing. So instruction might be initiated with oral summaries. So to do an oral summary, you might ask questions. So as you're reading something with a student, maybe ask the student, what is the most important thing that Marisol did? And then that gets the student thinking about those important details. You could also ask what 3 things happened to James. Again, that helps the student focus on what's important. If I'm pulling out just the main idea, just the big ideas, then these questions can help the students do that before they're even really thinking about, hey, I'm writing a summary. Another strategy that the textbook talks about is a card sort, and I love doing this. I've done this with all kinds of things with my students. This is super simple. Take a paragraph, an article, doesn't matter. Cut apart the sentences and give those sentences separately to the students. Then the students can then sort them between the important sentences that are ideas that should be included in the summary, and the not very important sentences that could probably be left out. It may be interesting additional facts or just something that's not the most important thing. This helps the students really start to pull apart and really have to think and discuss what is the most important thing. This can be done alone, it can be done in pairs, it can be done in groups. It's very flexible. It can be done with a longer piece, it can be done with just a short paragraph, but it's a really great way to get students to start thinking about how to pull those most important ideas. So now let's say we're going to move on to actually writing a summary. What are the steps? Well, before we go to the steps, I just want to make sure that I point out that it's always super important to model it first. You should never just tell the students, hey, you read that, write a summary now. Because they don't know. Most students, if you ask them just straight up write a summary, they're going to write a retelling. And a retelling is just everything that the student can remember. Where a summary is pulling out those most important details. And there's a huge difference there. So it's always important to model it first. So the first step is to determine the main idea. Now notice that first step doesn't say write the main idea. So you always want to think before you write and make sure that your students see you thinking before you write. You can do a think aloud, where maybe you read the paragraph or the excerpt, and then you think out loud so that the students can hear what should be happening in their own heads. So make sure that you think before you write. Determine that main idea. So step 2 now is to actually write the main idea. So the first part of your summary should be the main idea. The next part is the most important details that support the main idea. So go through. This would be a good place maybe to throw in that card sort and try to figure out what are the most important details and add those to your summary. Once you have all of that, it might not be the most beautiful summary. So you're probably going to want to shorten it a little bit, combine some ideas, maybe read back over and get rid of ideas that are not important, get rid of unnecessary words. And then your last step is to read over your final summary, make sure it has the main idea, it has the key details, and that it is clear. Okay? And those steps come from page 341 in the Gunning textbook. It's at figure 11.3. When we're talking specifically about fiction, one of my absolute favorite strategies is Somebody Wanted But So. And I was really excited when I saw this one listed in the textbook because I use this with my students all of the time. It helps them so much. I've never seen a strategy that has helped students as much as this one has. So Somebody Wanted But So is really, really simple. The somebody is the who. So you have to think, who's the main character? Who are we talking about here? Wanted, what is their goal? Every fiction story, I mean, if you just follow the general plot, there's always something that the main character is trying to do or something that the main character wants or is trying to achieve. So what is that goal? Then we have the but. The but is the conflict. What is the conflict? What is keeping what is keeping the main character from achieving that goal? And then so, what is the solution? What do they do to solve that conflict? Okay, so I gave you an example here. I color-coded it to match this Somebody Wanted But So. And this example comes from the Scarlet Ibis. The Scarlet Ibis is a story that is found in the freshman textbook that I used the last couple of years. It's a really great story. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. All you do is Google it. I'm sure you can find it. So in the story, we have the brother. He doesn't have a name, so we always just call him Brother. So that's our who. What did he want? He wanted a normal brother, as most brothers would. The but Doodle is his little brother. Doodle couldn't walk. So there's a conflict. That's the problem. He wants a normal brother, but he doesn't have one because Doodle can't walk. So what is the solution? So Brother decided to teach him how to walk. And that summarizes that story really, really well, really succinctly, and is a great way that students can put all of these ideas together in a way that makes sense to them, and it helps to guide them. So this is a really awesome strategy. I highly recommend it. Now, this one, Twitter summaries, is not mentioned in the textbook. It is something that I've used personally in my classroom, so I thought I would go ahead and throw it in. The textbook does talk about how students tend to go on and on when they're writing their summaries. And one way that you can help them narrow down the most important parts of their summary, or the most important aspects of the text that they're summarizing, is to limit the space that they have. And a Twitter summary is one way that you can limit the space, because we all know that Twitter contains only 140 characters. So this really limits the space that students have to write their summary. So I used the website that's shown here. Really, all you have to do is just Google Twitter generator, and you can come up with all kinds of them. But this is the one that I used for the example here. So you get to choose the person's name. So I put Best Student Ever, and their Twitter handle at Learning to Read, because I'm a nerd. And then the example I put here is students can use a Twitter generator to create 140 character summaries of what they've read. And then to really add another level to this, you can use hashtags. So hashtags can highlight important details. And that actually could be a really great way for the students to start. Maybe look at a paragraph and just come up with a hashtag that fits that paragraph, and that can help them find the main idea and those important details. This is also, it's a really great way to pull in some of our older students who might think that writing a summary is boring and lame, and getting them to write a Twitter summary kind of pulls in things that they do already. They all use Twitter, they all text and all of that, and this kind of makes it a little bit more relevant to them, a little bit more interesting and fun for them. So that's the Twitter summary. Okay, So I threw in this graphic of the gradual release model because the text discusses gradual release. I learned about gradual release when I was getting my education undergrad. I use it all the time for almost every single skill that I teach in my classroom. It is so, so important. So the first part of gradual release is on the teacher side, is focused instruction. I do it. I do it and I show you what it is that I want you as the student to do. So that's why I mentioned earlier in this presentation about modeling before you have the students write. It is so, so important that you show them first, instruct them first. But don't always do it for them. So the next step is guided instruction, where we do it. We write one together. Maybe as a whole class, we write one whole summary of a text together. And then you get to be part of the process, but the teacher is still there to guide and make sure that the students are on the right page and that the students are understanding it. The next step you can see shifts over to the student responsibility side. Collaborative learning. You do it together. So this is where they're working in partners, they're working in pairs. This would be a great place for the card sort or the Twitter summary. You have them work together to come to their completed summaries. This is awesome because it really gets the students talking, it gets them discussing with each other, and when they talk out loud, when they discuss with their peers, when they work it out together, they learn so much more. But then always our end goal is that the student is able to do it on their own. Independent learning, you do it alone. This is where we want all readers to get to. We want them to be able to read a text, understand it, and summarize it effectively by the time we let them leave our classrooms. So to end it, I'm just going to end with the same slide that I started with. Summarizing enhances understanding. Summarizing is so, so important, and it is just such a great strategy to help students monitor their own understanding, to help make sure that so that you can monitor their understanding. It's awesome. So that is summarizing. Have a lovely day.